Alright, rest day today. Wasn't gonna make a video or do anything, but had to charge my car today, and I figured, why not? Plus, something came up that I wanted to talk about. So, I've talked about more than once having to go pick my daughter up from school has been quite the trigger for me. And so I've talked about, what happened with her knee, and before that it was a concussion, and before that it was a cough. And, as recently, I think, as like yesterday or the day before, I said I wasn't really going to talk about these triggers anymore because I noticed they just continue to happen more and more. But I feel like this one is dying out because today, once again, she was fine all weekend, playing with her friends. Her knee is miraculously just healing to the point where she hasn't been wearing the brace. Like, she wears it only once in a while. Like, she wears it for her character. Like, if she's going to voice, then all of a sudden she needs the brace because she has to stay in that character with those people and have them still thinking certain things about her knee. It's kind of wild to watch it. And so the same thing with school. Like, she hadn't really worn the brace all weekend, and then, this morning she comes walking out. I'm like, you're wearing that brace again? And then she starts going into this rant about how her knee just started hurting her, and in one ear and out the other, because I know exactly what she's doing. And so my wife was home today, and she has off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. She, for whatever reason, has off. I forget. She said something about her school. It's some kind of holiday, but whatever. And so we were doing some stuff together, and around 11:30, we get a call from, you guessed it, the school nurse. And Peyton is, has a headache, and her stomach's not feeling good. And so my wife, says to the nurse, let's try and tough it out, keep her down there, and see if it gets better, and then call me back if she has to come home. And so after that phone call, my wife comes in and, starts talking to me about it, and I let her know, how I feel about the situation and how we should handle it, like, moving forward. And so the nurse calls back, which we knew was coming, and just Peyton wants to come home. And so I make it very clear to Peyton that, okay, I'll come and pick you up, but realize it's almost 1 o'clock now, 12:30, and you will not have access to your phone, or you will not have access to your TV or the TV downstairs. No electronics. And that's how your day is going to go. So if you don't want to tough out these next 2 hours, then I guess you're too sick to finish school, so you're too sick to do anything fun at home. And my wife, we had already talked it over and we're on board. And she's been like, kind of like, and that's the whole thing. Like, you know, parenting is a kind of pick your battles. Sometimes it's a pick your battles relationship where if you're married and have kids, you know exactly where I'm coming from, what I'm talking about. And so, you know, me as a dad, and, you know, if you've watched my videos for long enough, and I'm kind of like a no nonsense person, and, you know, headaches and, you know, stomach aches and like that kind of stuff. If it was just me and my daughter, she would be at school a lot more than she has been. But my wife, okay, the other side of the card, and that's where you can look at it as I might be too hard on her. That's why sometimes in parenting, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. But we finally, you know, gotten to the point where my wife has had enough. Like, she's always erred on the side of caution in terms of, well, maybe, you know, maybe she did hit her head. Maybe she does have a concussion. Maybe she does have a stomach ache. But at the end of the day, it's come to the point where we're getting, you know, letters sent to us because of how many days of school she's missed. And so she can't really miss any more days of school this year. So even if she's coming to us with this in the morning, she has to go to school. Like, she can't miss any more school. So she's been kind of, you know, not kind of, she has been taking advantage of the other end. So now it's like she goes to school and she knows she gets credit for that, but it's like I'll kind of manipulate everybody. Like, she's found loopholes, like where she can just go to the nurse and then have us pick her up. And so I talked to my wife and I was like, listen, I said, what would you do? Because my wife works for a school. I was like, what would you do if, you know, this was another student who you knew was kind of exploiting this aspect of education? Like, what could you do as an educator? And she said, there's nothing we can do. We would have to send them home. And I said, okay, so if that's the case, then this is on us. This has to be handled through us with, okay, if she wants to play this game, there have to be consequences, because at this point we're enabling. And so, as I just said, my wife finally on board. And so, you know, I go and I have a conversation with Peyton. I let her know, like, what the deal is going to be. Like, if I come and pick you up, here's how your day is going to go. And so she says fine. Like, and so I go and pick her up, and, you know, before I was leaving, my wife is like, you know, maybe we should, like, really lay into her and, you know, just kind of, you know, give her hell, like, so to speak. And I'm like, if we do that, that's what we're going to get back. Like, she's just going to come back at us. So I recommended, I'm like, listen, we just got to keep our power and just be quietly disappointed. She's going to come and she's going to talk and she's going to try and convince us that, you know, her stomach hurt and this and that and the other thing. And she's going to act and put on the waterworks. And we just have to be quietly disappointed, because when you're quiet like that, you're letting her know that you know. And if you don't react to it negatively, which is what we were, you know, kind of talking about, when you're reacting to it negatively, if you've been watching this channel and you watch other channels, you know that you're simply asking for more of that. You're asking the 3D, give me more. You're asking God, give me more of this. Okay, everything is meaningless, but whatever you're giving your attention to and then supercharging it with emotion, God thinks you're asking for more of it, so he gives it to you. All right, so if you want something to leave your experience, you have to respond to it from the new you, the new version of you, the new identity. And so our old identity would respond to it like that. So now the new identity is okay, quiet disappointment. And so she got in the car and she's trying to tell me, stories about this and that. And, somebody with a stomach ache, she's asking me if we have any chicken Alfredo. And I'm just quiet. I'm just one word answers, one phrase. I don't know. Oh yeah, is that what happened? Like, kind of thing. The whole way home. And so halfway home, she just stopped talking because she realized like what my energy was. Like I was just done. It's like the time for talking is over. We've had conversation after conversation after conversation. Nothing has changed. And so I'm just quiet. It's on her now to figure it out. And so she comes home and, and my wife, God bless her, my daughter, I find out, wanted to come home because she thought that she could manipulate my wife. Manipulate sounds harsh, but that's exactly what it is. That's what it comes down to. Because she was completely different with me in the car than she was to my wife when she walked in the house. She was asking for chicken Alfredo. She was telling me stories about her day, smiling. I was thinking to myself, are you kidding me right now? I just picked her up from school because she was too sick to be in school. And this is the person that I'm picking up. And so immediately you hear her walk in the house. I was already in the house. You hear her walk in the house and you could hear the whimpering. And like she was getting into character. The same way she gets into character with a leg brace to go to school, with a leg brace to go to voice class. She knows how to play these characters. And so she got in the character who normally is able to convince my wife that she's sick or that there's something going on. But as I said, my wife has finally gotten to the point where enough's enough. And so she held the line. And so, and so my daughter had to change, right? Because now when you're up against a different identity, what happens? My wife's a different identity. She changed her identity. She was challenged again. The old identity, the old self that she's been, caves in and says, okay, Peyton, comes in and talks to me, says, it seems like her stomach's upset. Maybe she can just have her, TV and not her phone. Something to that effect. That's the way it always goes down. But now, my wife has changed her identity to the point where she's not reacting to Peyton anymore. She's not allowing Peyton to tell her what's what. She's a new identity that says, no, enough's enough. That's it. And here's what's happening. And so now what happens? Peyton has to change. And so instead of a case where Peyton would convince her to give her a TV and she'd be, now all of a sudden, Peyton wants to go back to school because we were having company over tonight and my wife was like, you're going to be in your room. It's going to be the most boring day ever for you. Because you're not coming down. If your stomach's hurting, I don't want you around people. You're not having your cake and eating it too. And this might seem so simple to, some people out there who are watching this video, like, duh. Yeah. If your kid comes home from school, they don't get, you don't get rewarded for coming home from school. And that's how, like I said, I have no experience with this because I don't think I didn't even know it was an option. All right. In terms of this coming home early from school, because I never did it. I would, skip in high school. I told you the kind of person that I was when I was in my teens and stuff. But, so Peyton wanted to go back to school. That just got a lot brighter. And so I just took her back to school. And she's like, I'm scared. What if my teacher says this and that and the other thing? I'm like, you got to figure it out, Peyton. I'm like, you are by focusing on these things and asking me, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? You are actually creating these things in your experience. You're going to get some of these things. Whereas if you were just focused on your own power and just being authentic instead of playing these characters, she's 10 years old, 10 and a half, so she's kind of she's starting to ask these questions, like what does authentic mean and like those kinds of things. But she knows a lot of this stuff, and so I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm just like, I'm not really going to waste my breath anymore talking to her about it. It's just going to be quiet, keeping my and just showing her with my quietness and changing my reflection, because what's happening, it all starts with you, right? So it all started with me. It started with me having a conversation with my wife, but not overreacting, which is what I would have done in the past. But I'm almost forgetting these things because I've changed so much. So I'm so different. So now that is like me. So it's like, and it's been me for a while. So now it's getting harder to remember how I was with certain things. But I would overreact. My wife and I would have probably gotten to an argument or something, because I might have put up resistance in terms of going to pick her up or something like that. It would have definitely played out different, but we were able to have a conversation about it, calm, because I was calm. And so it all started with me. And so my wife was calm, and she fed off of that energy. It's like, we have to do something, but, let's stay calm and we'll figure it out together. And then so what happens? Now it's a domino effect. It's like, now I was able to change that, where I would once overreact negatively. Now I'm responding. I'm responding calmly. The solutions and the answers are coming to me because I'm calm. And then my wife, she's calm because I'm calm. You have no choice. Like, have you ever been freaking out and like it's just you and another person and they're calm? As long as they remain calm, you will not keep freaking out. The only way you will continue freaking out is if the other person starts freaking out with you. Have you ever experienced that? Like, that should be self-explanatory, but I feel like a lot of people, we don't even realize that. And so even if my wife wants to get hype, as long as I stay calm, eventually she's going to meet me. She's going to be calm with me. And so that your wife Your body's part of your 3D. Your emotions are part of your 3D. They're not you. My wife is part of my 3D. This is all my experience. And so I'm creating this experience, this new experience today. And so what happened that never happened before was my daughter wound up going back to school. And that's what I'm talking about on this channel. It's you versus you. If I was the same you, if I was that same old identity, I would have gotten the same exact results, had the same exact experience that I've always had. That I've had over and over and over again. So until you change, this doesn't change. And so I wanted to talk about that, but I also wanted to talk about like how the biggest change that has taken place is just that. It's been like my calmness in situations where I would have, previously like social anxiety or not feeling like I'm not enough or I'm not accomplished enough when I'm around certain people. And I was thinking about that and I'm like, man, the game has you set up so if you don't get off to a quick start, you're going to be down your whole life until you figure this shit out. Because think about it. Like, if you're in a friend group or your family and you're not as accomplished as everybody else and you don't know about the I am, what is your self-talk going to be? It's probably not going to be too positive unless you're just a positive person. And so what is that self-talk? Then what is that self-talk going to create in terms of your identity? And then you're going to try all these things on the external to fix that while still being the same identity. So maybe you'll get some temporary changes out here, but ultimately, year after year, if you continue just being and doing things from that identity, nothing is going to change. You're going to have the same experiences over and over and over, and you're always going to be the person who is the least accomplished out of your friend group or family. And then it just becomes, you'll probably get to a point where you give up. You lose all hope. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I've been there. I'm speaking from experience. And so, life will just continue to fucking kick the shit out of you while you're down until you claim something new, until you figure this stuff out and you start coming from a new identity. And so that's the biggest shift that I've seen. Like, I know who I am now. And so even if in the physical realm, in the 3D realm, it's not showing on paper or on my resume that I'm as good as somebody else, I fucking know for a fact that I'm as good as everybody else. There's no one that's fucking better than me at anything. And so it doesn't matter who I'm around. I could have fucking Donald Trump charging up, or Elon Musk charging his Tesla right next to me. And I would have no fucking problem striking up a conversation with him and just chatting. And not one time would the thought come to me that he's fucking better than me. Not one time. And so that's the biggest thing that has changed in my life. And I said to my wife, probably about a week ago, I was like, no one knows me better than you in terms of who I've been over the last 10 years. And I was like, where we are at this moment, do you think anyone that we know would be surprised if we just one day said to them, you know, we're multi-millionaires? Or we just had, you know, this investment just fucking kicked ass for us and we're millionaires. Like, anyone that we know would be like, yeah, that sounds about right. And I'm sure there's people in your experience where if that happened to those people, you might be like, what the fuck? That doesn't fit. Like, how are they millionaires? But the person that I am now and the person that my wife is, like, we're fucking multi-millionaires. And no one would be fucking surprised. No one will be surprised when the paperwork says it. And so that's where you have to be. That's what you have to do. That's why in the first workout video, I said, you can feel fucking motivated and you can feel like you're going to follow through. But if you never have, and you're still coming from that same identity who has always quit, and you didn't change that, you didn't change your fucking I am, you're going to quit again. You are not going to follow through because it won't let you. You won't let you until you change your identity. You will get thoughts and feelings and emotions, and the old self will fucking keep you there unless you claim something different and you give him this. When he comes in, and it's the same stuff that I talk about all the time. And the triggers are not meant to be something that is being done to you. It's not like the old self is being an asshole. He's just making sure that you want to be this new identity. And so of course he's going to check with you. Of course he's going to test you. Of course God is going to test your faith in who you say you are. But when you know that, and you know who you truly are inside, no matter what the fuck is happening out here, then it's like the game is easy. One system play for today on the Milwaukee Brewers. Probably on the money line. If you were interested in the chase system, that's 17-0 so far. But yeah, that's it. So I wanted to share that because it directly relates to what's happening with me. Like, I have this picture of who I used to be, and we all have those fucking pictures. Like, you know, I'll go back to King of Queens, or like Al Bundy talking about how he threw fucking 4 touchdowns on Married with Children in one game. And he was that guy. But he's not that guy anymore in that show. And he will never be that guy as long as he talks about that other guy like it's some guy he used to be. You have to be it and claim it now. And then the world is yours, because it's your fucking world. It's your experience. Charging's complete. This video is complete. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow if you are joining me for week 2 of the workouts. Otherwise, have a great one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.